Only strong grandkids belong here. No great weakness loud, weakness loud.
My dad kicked my 8-year-old daughter at the Christmas party in front of the guests. By morning, he was begging for mercy. Before I tell you what happened when authorities heard my daughter's shaking voice describe what her grandfather did to her that night, I need to ask you, where are you watching from, and what would you have done in my place? I arrive at my father's Christmas party with my 8-year-old daughter, Zuri, already feeling the warning in my chest, that familiar tightness that comes from walking into spaces where you know you're tolerated, not welcomed. The house looks perfect from the outside, like something out of a holiday catalog. Snow dusting the hedges in soft white curves, lights strung with architectural precision, expensive wreaths hung on every door like badges of wealth. It's the kind of house that photographs beautifully, the kind that says we have everything, the kind that hides its rot behind marble countertops and seasonal decor. Inside, it's all performance, laughter that sounds rehearsed, conversations that feel like auditions, people dressed like they're attending a gala, not a family gathering, holding wine glasses with the careful grip of those who know they're being watched. This isn't warmth. This is theater. My brother Kellen opens the door with that polished smile that always feels like a knife, sharp enough to cut, but designed to look like kindness from a distance. His eyes slide over me like I'm furniture he's reminded exists, then land on Zuri with something colder, not hatred, exactly, dismissal. The kind of look that says, you don't belong here, and we both know it. Guests turn their heads the moment we enter, not because we're late, we're not, but because we're unwanted. I can feel it in the way the room shifts, the way conversations pause just long enough to register our presence before resuming with forced brightness. My family's eyes don't soften when they see Zuri. They narrow, like she's a stain on their tradition, a disruption to the aesthetic they've carefully constructed. I try anyway. I tell myself, just one night, let her know her family, let her feel included, even if it's just this once. I'm wrong before the first hour ends. If you've ever walked into a room and felt the air change, felt the way people's bodies angle away from you, felt the way smiles become thinner, tighter, like politeness stretched over contempt, you know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling of being an outsider in a place that's supposed to be home. You know what it's like to second-guess every word, every gesture, wondering if you're imagining the hostility or if it's as real as the cold seeping through the front door every time someone comes in from outside. I hold Zuri's hand a little tighter and tell myself we'll survive this. Aunt Simone, my father's sister, a woman who wears her cruelty like couture, steers Zuri toward the sunroom where the children are eating. Her voice is syrupy, the kind of sweetness that only exists to mask poison. She doesn't ask if Zuri wants to go. She guides her like livestock, one manicured hand on her shoulder, moving her away from the main dining room where the adults feast like royalty. I follow with my eyes, watching as Zuri glances back at me, her dark eyes asking a silent question. Do I have to? I nod like a coward and let her go, telling myself she'll be safer there, away from the sharper edges of adult conversation, away from the scrutiny of people who've already decided she's less than. But the sunroom isn't for children. It's where they put the people they don't respect, out of sight, out of mind. Paper plates instead of china, chicken nuggets instead of prime rib, plastic cups instead of crystal. The kids sit on folding chairs around a card table, while the adults recline on upholstered furniture in the next room, their voices carrying through the walls with that particular volume that comes from too much wine and too much self-importance. Zuri sits with her cousins, children who barely acknowledge her, who've been taught through years of family gatherings that she doesn't quite count. She picks at her food quietly, trying to make herself small, trying not to draw attention. I should have taken her home right then. I should have listened to the warning in my chest. But I wanted to believe, desperately, foolishly, that maybe this time would be different, that maybe my father would see her, really see her, and remember she's a child, his grandchild. That blood would mean something. I was so profoundly, devastatingly wrong. A loud noise erupts from the sunroom. Something small, harmless, the kind of accident that happens when children exist in spaces not designed for them. A decoration knocked over, a glass figurine tipping off a side table, the sound of something ceramic meeting hardwood. The room shifts. Conversations pause mid-sentence. Wine glasses lower. Heads turn toward the sunroom like sharks scenting blood in the water. Then my father, Marcus, stands up. Not with concern, not with the instinct to check if anyone's hurt, with purpose, with that deliberate calm that people who wield power wear when they're about to use it. I follow him, my stomach sinking, my feet moving on autopilot, because I've seen that walk before. The walk of a man who doesn't correct. He punishes. He makes examples. He turns mistakes into spectacles because he's spent his entire life believing that's what leadership looks like. Inside the sunroom, Zuri is frozen beside a knocked-over snow globe, one of those expensive, heavy ones that probably cost more than our rent. Her small hands already raised in surrender, already apologizing with the kind of panic that only comes from knowing you're in trouble before anyone even speaks. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just... Her voice is high and thin, cracking with fear, and my heart breaks hearing it because I know that tone. I used it myself as a child in this house, that desperate pleading sound of someone trying to shrink themselves into nothing, hoping that invisibility might equal safety. And then Marcus does something that splits my life into before and after. He kicks her, a full-force kick to the face, not a nudge, not a shove, a deliberate, powerful blow delivered with the sole of his expensive leather shoe, striking her so hard she flies backward and hits the floor like a doll, her head making a sickening thud against the hardwood. Time fractures. I scream, a sound I don't recognize, something primal and raw, and move toward her, but Kellen blocks me with a grip like iron, his fingers digging into my upper arm, yanking me back with the practiced efficiency of someone who's done this before. Don't make a scene, he hisses in my ear, his breath hot and sharp with bourbon. Don't make a scene. My daughter is on the floor, blood trickling from her nose, her lip already, swelling, her eyes wide with shock and pain and confusion, and he's worried about a scene. Marcus grabs Zuri by the arm, yanks her up like she's nothing, like she weighs nothing, like she is nothing, and drags her toward the front door. She stumbles, trying to keep up with his long strides, her bare feet slipping on the polished floors, one hand pressed to her face where he kicked her. Please, Grandpa, please, I'm sorry. He doesn't answer, doesn't slow down, doesn't even look at her. He opens the front door, that massive, custom-carved door that cost more than some people's cars, and throws her outside, barefoot, into the snow, into the freezing December night where the temperature has already dropped below 20 degrees, and locks the door. Zuri pounds the glass, crying, her small fists hitting the window in desperate, irregular beats, her face already swelling, her breath fogging the glass in rapid bursts as the cold starts biting her skin, turning her cheeks from brown to ashen, making her lips tremble. Mama, Mama, please. And inside, the guests don't rush to help. They don't gasp in horror. They don't demand Marcus open the door. They gather at the windows, like it's a show, like it's entertainment, like they've paid admission to watch a child suffer. I'm screaming, fighting against Kellen's grip, trying to get to the door, but he's stronger, and he has help now. Uncle Raymond holds my other arm. Aunt Simone blocks my path, and they're all speaking in that low, urgent tone people use when they're trying to control someone without admitting they're doing something wrong. Calm down. You're overreacting. She needs to learn. Marcus knows what he's doing. Their words blend into white noise because all I can see is Zuri, my baby, my entire world, standing in the snow in her thin Christmas dress, her feet bare and already turning red, her small body shaking so hard I can see it from inside, her tears freezing on her cheeks. Kellen laughs. Not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable chuckle. A full, loud laugh that cuts through the room, designed to be heard, crafted to turn cruelty into comedy. This party is for strong grandkids only. The words hang in the air like smoke, and then, God help me, someone claps. Then another, and then the room fills with that sick, hollow sound. Applause, laughter, approval, like my daughter's suffering is a punchline, like her pain is proof of their superiority, like cruelty is something to celebrate when it's directed at the right targets. Phones come out, not to call for help, not to document abuse, to record, to capture, to turn Zuri crying outside into content, into a moment they can share later, into a story they'll tell at future gatherings. Remember that Christmas when Marcus put that girl in her place? I slam my fists against the door, screaming at them to open it, my voice breaking, my throat raw, but my father just stands there, calm, satisfied, his arms crossed over his chest like a general surveying a successful campaign, as if he's proving a lesson, teaching us all something important about hierarchy and discipline and knowing your place. And I realize the truth with a clarity so sharp it feels like swallowing glass. They're not ashamed. They're proud. This isn't something they'll apologize for later, something they'll claim went too far in the heat of the moment. This is intentional. This is the point. This is them showing me, showing Zuri, exactly where we rank in their world. When I finally force my way outside, through a side door someone forgot to guard, through a wraparound exit near the kitchen, through sheer desperate determination, Zuri is trembling so violently I can hear her teeth chattering from 10 feet away. Her feet are bright red, almost purple in places, the snow around her stained pink where her skin has cracked and bled. Her face is a mess of tears and snot and blood, her left eye swelling shut, her lips split and still bleeding. She's wrapped her arms around herself, trying to preserve what little warmth she has left, but her thin dress is soaked from falling in the snow, clinging to her small frame, offering no protection against the brutal cold. She collapses into my arms the moment she sees me, her body going limp like she's been holding herself together through pure will and can finally let go. "Mama," she sobs into my shoulder, her voice muffled and broken. "Why did Grandpa do that? What did I do?" I don't have an answer, not one that makes sense, not one that won't break her further. So I just hold her, wrapping my coat around both of us, and I don't argue. I don't plead. I don't go back inside demanding apologies or explanations. I do something colder, something more permanent. I take photos. I record her shaking. I record her bruises. I record her voice asking why her grandfather hurt her. I photograph her feet, her face, the blood-stained snow. I document everything with the methodical precision of someone who knows that evidence is the only currency that matters. And I make sure one thing is crystal clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't discipline that went slightly too far. This was public cruelty, witnessed by dozens, celebrated by most, recorded by many. This was a crime performed for an audience. Back in my car, hands still shaking, I turn the heat up as high as it'll go and wrap Zuri in every blanket I have in the trunk. Emergency supplies I keep because I've learned you can't trust the world to be kind, can't rely on others to help when you need it. She's stopped crying now, gone silent in that terrible way children do when they've moved past panic into shock. Her eyes are distant, unfocused, staring at nothing. I scroll through my phone, reviewing the footage, my own recordings, Zuri's injuries in sharp, undeniable detail, her testimony, halting and confused, asking questions no child should have to ask. Then I remember what they didn't think through, what they were too drunk on their own power to consider. Those guests recording at the window, they sent those videos somewhere, family group chats, private threads, text messages with subject lines like, "OMG, can you believe this?" And Marcus finally snapped, and that poor girl had it coming. And I know something else too, something I've learned from watching my father operate for 30 years. People like Marcus survive because everything stays private, because what happens in the family stays in the family, because wealth and reputation and carefully constructed images can absorb almost any scandal as long as it never becomes public. So I decide it won't stay private. I decide the world gets to see exactly who my father is, not through rumors or whispers or family gossip, through evidence they can't deny. I take those recordings somewhere powerful, not to other family members who'll try to mediate, not to a church that'll prioritize forgiveness over justice, not to someone who will handle it quietly and make it disappear. I take it to people who understand consequences. First stop, the emergency room, where doctors and nurses document Zuri's injuries with professional detachment that somehow feels more compassionate than my family's cruelty. They photograph the bruising. They note the frostbite on her toes. They measure the swelling. They ask questions in gentle voices and write down every answer. A nurse named Patricia holds Zuri's hand while they examine her feet and tells her she's very brave. It's such a small kindness, but it makes Zuri cry again. Not from pain this time, but from the shock of being treated like she matters. "Someone did this to you on purpose?" Patricia asks, her voice careful, professional. Zuri nods. "Can you tell me who?" "My grandpa, at his Christmas party." Patricia's pen pauses for just a second, then continues writing. When she looks up at me, her eyes say everything her professional demeanor won't allow her mouth to. We're going to make sure this is documented properly. Second stop, the police station, where I walk in with a flash drive full of videos and a determination that surprises even me. The officer at the desk looks skeptical at first, until I show him the footage. The kick, the lock, the snow, the crowd at the windows, the clapping, the laughter, the child crying outside while adults film her suffering. His face changes. "I need you to wait here," he says, his voice different now, serious, focused. Within 20 minutes, I'm giving a statement to a detective who looks like she's seen everything and can't be shocked anymore. But even she pauses the video when Kellen's voice comes through clearly. "This party is for strong grandkids only." She replays it twice. "Ma'am," she says slowly, "I need to know, how many people witnessed this?" "At least 40, maybe 50. Most of them have the videos on their phones." Her jaw tightens. "And you're willing to press charges?" "Against everyone who participated, everyone who filmed, everyone who laughed. That's a lot of people." "I have time." Third stop, the lawyer's office. Not just any lawyer. Amanda Reese, a woman who built her practice defending the people my father's world likes to crush. She takes cases other firms won't touch. She doesn't care about reputation or social standing or who knows who. She cares about evidence and law and winning. I've done my research. I show her everything. She watches the footage once in silence, her expression unreadable. Then she watches it again, taking notes. When she finishes, she looks at me with something that might be respect. "Your father is Marcus Holloway." "The Marcus Holloway." "Unfortunately." "And you're prepared for what this means? The publicity, the backlash, the way they'll come after you?" "They already came after my daughter. I'm just returning the favor." She almost smiles. "Good, because this isn't just assault on a minor. This is child endangerment, reckless endangerment, potential conspiracy given how many people were involved. And if we can prove any of them have professional licenses or positions of authority, we can go after those too." "How long will it take?" "To file? A few days. To destroy them?" She taps her pen against the desk. "That started the moment they hit record." "The footage is undeniable. You can't explain it away. Can't recontextualize it. Can't claim it was taken out of context or misunderstood. A grown man kicks a child in the face, throws her into freezing weather without shoes, and locks the door while a crowd watches and applauds. It's not ambiguous. It's not up for interpretation. And the line that seals everyone's fate, the quote that will follow them forever, that will be cited in every article and legal document and social media post, is, "This party is for strong grandkids only." It's the kind of quote that ruins careers faster than any trial ever could, because it proves the cruelty wasn't hidden, wasn't accidental, wasn't a moment of lost control. It was celebrated. It was the point. They think they'll bury it with influence. They try. Within hours of the police report being filed, I start getting calls, blocked numbers, unknown contacts, messages that don't identify themselves but make their intentions clear. Think about what you're doing to the family. This kind of publicity helps no one. There are better ways to handle family disputes. Your father is willing to compensate you for your distress. Compensation, like money, can fix what they did. Like a check can erase the memory of my daughter begging outside a locked door while strangers laughed. Strings get pulled. Calls are made to people who know people. Lawyers reach out to lawyers. Someone tries to get the police report sealed. Someone else contacts the hospital about patient privacy. But the videos travel faster than their power. By sunrise, the world starts collapsing, not dramatically, not all at once, but with the inexorable weight of consequences that have been delayed too long finally arriving, all at the same time. A corporate board suspends an executive, Richard Chen, CFO of a Fortune 500 company, who was seen in the footage standing by the window, phone out, clearly filming. The statement is brief, corporate speak, but the message is clear. We don't employ people who find child abuse entertaining. A school administrator is placed on leave after parents recognize her in the background, champagne glass in hand, smiling. The PTA explodes. Emergency meetings are called. Parents demand answers. How can we trust you with our children when you stood by and watched this happen? A pastor's office issues a temporary stepping away statement after congregants identify him in the video. The language is careful, measured, but the damage is done. You can't preach about compassion and grace on Sunday when there's video of you laughing at a child suffering on Saturday. A charity freezes donations and schedules an emergency meeting after their board member, my Aunt Simone, is identified as one of the people who physically prevented me from reaching the door. Donors withdraw support. The local paper runs a story. The organization's reputation takes a hit it may never recover from. A prestigious law firm stops responding to Kellen's calls after a video surfaces of him delivering that line. This party is for strong grandkids only, followed by laughter and applause. His cases get reassigned. His name gets quietly removed from the website. By the end of the week, he's pursuing other opportunities. And my father, he wakes up to silence, not peaceful silence, not the quiet of a lazy morning or a snow day. The kind of silence that means nobody is protecting you anymore. The kind of silence that comes when people who've spent years insulating you from consequences suddenly realize that association with you is toxic. My phone starts ringing nonstop. Block numbers, family members I haven't heard from in years, former friends of my father's, people whose names I recognize from his business dealings. The messages all sound the same. Just variations on a theme. We need to talk. This went too far. Think about what you're doing. Can we find a way to resolve this privately? Your father is very sorry. Kellen texts first, his message appearing at 6:47 a.m., probably the moment someone showed him the news coverage. You're destroying the family. Is this what you want? To tear everything apart over an accident? An accident. He's calling what happened an accident. I don't respond. Then my father calls. I let it go to voicemail. He calls again. And again. On the fourth call, I answer. Fix this. His voice doesn't sound like a king anymore. It sounds like a man who's just realized the ground beneath him isn't as solid as he thought. Whatever you've started, end it now. No. Excuse me? I said no. A pause. I can hear him breathing. Can almost see him in my mind's eye, standing in that massive house, probably in his study, surrounded by all the symbols of his power and success, trying to understand how his daughter is defying him. Do you have any idea what you're doing? His voice rises, that familiar edge of fury creeping in. The damage you're causing? The lives you're ruining? The only life that got ruined was Zuri's when you kicked her in the face, when you threw her into the snow, when you locked her outside while your guests filmed and laughed. She broke a snow globe. She broke a snow globe, Dad. A thing, an object, and you assaulted her. I was teaching her? You weren't teaching her anything except that cruelty is acceptable when you have power. That family means nothing. That violence is fine as long as you're strong enough to get away with it. She needed to learn respect. The word makes something inside me snap. Respect? You want to talk about respect? You kicked an 8-year-old child in the face hard enough to knock her down. You threw her outside in freezing weather without shoes. You locked the door and let your friends watch her cry like it was a performance. And you want her to respect you? I am her grandfather. You're a man who assaulted a child at a Christmas party and made sure there were witnesses. You're not a grandfather. You're not even really a father. You're just someone who happens to share DNA with people you've spent your whole life proving you don't actually care about. I can hear him breathing harder now. That sound he makes when he's trying to control his temper and failing. You ungrateful. Here's what's going to happen, I interrupt, my voice steady in a way that surprises me. The police have the evidence. The lawyers have the footage. The hospital has the documentation. The story is already out. There. And it's not going away because you can't threaten or bribe or charm your way out of video evidence watched by millions of people. If you don't drop this, you'll what? Disown me? Cut me off? You did that years ago, Dad. You just never made it official. The only difference now is that the world gets to see exactly who you are. I could destroy you. And there it is. The threat he always comes back to. The promise of punishment that's kept me quiet for years. But this time, I'm not scared. This time, I have something he doesn't. The truth, documented and undeniable. You already tried to destroy my daughter, I say quietly, and that was your biggest mistake, because you didn't kick some abstract concept of disrespect or misbehavior. You kicked a specific child, my child, and she has injuries and trauma and a voice that's going to tell this story for the rest of her life. So go ahead. Try to destroy me, but understand that every move you make, every threat you deliver, every attempt to bury this just gives me more evidence of exactly who you are. Silence. Then, you're making a mistake. No, Dad. You made the mistake when you thought nobody would stop you, when you kicked my daughter because you could, when you turned her suffering into entertainment. I'm just making sure the world knows about it. I hang up, not because I want revenge, though I'd be lying if I said there wasn't satisfaction in hearing his voice shake. Not because I'm angry, though fury is burning through my veins like wildfire, but because Zuri deserves to grow up knowing one fundamental truth. When people hurt her, I don't beg for space at their table. I burn the table down,